want to talk to you about my friend Charlie Crawford. He's a 10-time NFR qualifier.
Charlie Crawford, time to just shake it out and win. Got it on him fast, set
there
up.
We are.
Here's a day money lead. You betcha 3-8.
That's an absolute perfect run. Timing was perfect from the time the first swing is up. He's got the control. Charlie made it happen by being timed up with his horse with the steer, and being able to not just rope, but to pick that steer's head up without changing the momentum for the heeler at all.
We know his beautiful wife, Jackie, all three of their beautiful children, the founder of the Liberty and Loyalty Foundation, which this year will exceed $1 million raised for military and first responders. I've said it 1,000 times. Charlie, it's time to rope, nod and ride, whip and spur. I want to welcome you to the Charlie Crawford Podcast. Let's ride.
So I have some clinic dates open. So if you guys are interested in coming to a Charlie Crawford clinic or a Corey Kuntz clinic, I am headed to Stanton, Texas next month in June 15th, where Corey Kuntz and I will be doing a clinic. Blake Evans will be putting that clinic on, and the flyers should be on my social media, so my Charlie Crawford fan page, also my Instagram. I have it pinned up there, so you'll be able to get a hold of Blake through that, and head out there to West Texas. Corey Kuntz and I will be headed to the Haythorn Ranch up in Arthur, Nebraska, June 21st and 23rd. There is a couple spots there available. Also, I'll be doing a breakaway clinic on the 24th up there. Kelly Haythorn will be the point of contact there. Her contact also will be on that flyer that's pinned on my social media. If you have any questions on wanting to come to a clinic, charliecrawfordtraining@gmail.com. I'll be able to respond to you and be able to send you the person of contact's number. Those are the first two open dates that we have right now. As far as open host dates, if you're wanting to host a clinic, if you want us to come to your town, July 13th through the 14th is open. July 27th through the 28th is open. August 17th through the 18th. I have 2 weekends in October that are available, and the first weekend in November is also open. Corey Kuntz and I are excited about a champions level clinic that we're going to be doing in Decatur, Texas, November 12th through the 14th, where we're going to be getting ready for Vegas. So if you're open from the 12 to the 7, we're going to be timing these runs. We're going to be setting up the boxes the same as what it's going to be like out there in Vegas. We're going to put up barriers. We're going to be videoing it. We're going to be breaking down the type of runs that you're going to need to make to be able to get yourself in the big money out there in December in Vegas. So look for that one. Also, email me for any information that you need that you have. We'll be headed to Arizona after that. I'll be headed to Arizona at the end of November, in December, January, and February. So if you guys are out there for the winter months, we'll be headed that way. How often do we want to face our horse in the practice pen? That's a good question because it's such a feel to be able to know what that horse needs. So is your horse getting hung up in the face? Is he not moving his feet right? So what I'll do there's a couple different things I'll do if they're hanging up and they're not moving their feet very quick. What I'll do is I'll make some little circles to the right and just kind of almost half shape my horse where he's bending around my right leg, where it's almost like a C shape. And I'll just kind of moving around some small circles to the right, maybe just at a walk. And I'll have my hand kind of running up the main line a little bit to where I'm making sure my hands are not in his way, and then I might side pass him a little bit through that corner with my foot going right in the middle of his rib cage, and then when I want to face him, I'll just put my foot or my spur right in front of that back cinch and see if he'll move off that leg and kind of get his footwork correct. Now you can log the tail of your rope, and maybe he's a little bit spooky from that. You can kind of sharpen his feet up a little bit that way. If you log anything, I like to log things light. So like Jackie's Smarty dummy. It's a breakaway dummy with no horns on it. So I might log that, but if your horse has never logged anything before, maybe start off with a stick and start off at the end of your rope, because you don't want to get in a bind logging these horses around if they've never logged anything before, where you end up getting yourself in hurt. That's not what we're wanting at all. So, start off with something but I like to keep it light. I don't do much for tires or logs or anything like that. I like to keep something small and light, but something on the end of it that might be just a little bit spooky from, it'll sharpen his feet up just a little bit. So those are some things I'll do to sharpen his feet up. So in that way, when I go to roping, if I'm wanting to work on my face, I want to have my heeler dally. if he's hanging up. That way when my heeler dallies, when I go to move that horse around and get his feet moving right there, he's looking down that rope. And then I might maybe push his hips past that rope just a little bit up the pin or down the pin a little bit where he overfaces just a little bit, and then be able to run my rope over the top of his head so he doesn't hit that rope and spook from the rope. Sometimes when you face and the heeler misses, then sometimes that rope will end up, smacking him right there in the nose, and then that'll dull him up as well. That'll get him where they're not looking down that rope. So if I'm facing up, it's nice to have my heeler to where he'll dally, and I can look right down that rope and get everything sharp. The last thing I want to do that'll dull them horses' feet up is if I rope and then my heeler ropes, and then I just kind of let my horse drift down the pin back to the catch pin. That'll dull one up real fast. Or if you just rope and then stop those feet, that will dull one up pretty quick. Now, say my horses want to punch his front feet. So say as soon as their heeler ropes 2 feet, my horse is punching those front feet and almost dying off and losing his foot speed. What happens when them front feet stop? Then the rope gets loose to the steer's head. That's not what you want at all. That'll create a lot of slipped feet or losing legs altogether. Or if they still keep them, then it's a slower time to get faced because you're losing your momentum. So if my horse is punching his front feet, what I'll have my heeler do is when he ropes in the practice pen, I'll tell him not to dally. And then when he ropes, I'll try to keep them front feet and back feet moving, just kind of pivoting around my right leg and just keeping everything going. And then I'll put the rope over his head as I go ahead and finish him around, and then keep his feet moving throughout that whole process. Just because you don't want to punch, but you want to make sure too that if they're punching, make sure it's not you that's doing it. Because I've been guilty of this before in the past, to where I'll face and pull when the horse is halfway facing, and you'll get caught in that V because you're anticipating them. You're anticipating the move a little bit early. Sometimes it's easy to pull after they're already faced to back up, but I've been guilty sometimes before and pulling early when the horse is only halfway faced, and then you end up getting stuck. Or if your left leg gets in him right there when he's halfway around, so that horse is broke at all. If you put that left leg in him when he's only halfway faced, a lot of them broke ones won't go through your left leg, so you get stuck in that V. So make sure your technique is correct and your left-handed feet are in the correct spot to where you're not getting in that horse's way at all. Probably one of the most frequent things that I see on a head horse is when the horse anticipates the face. That's pretty common, especially if you catch a lot, your heeler catches a lot, and when you're going to those ropings enough to where as soon as they hear the rope, they'll start facing a little bit early. Another thing, are you anticipating it as well? That can also be something that also triggers it. So what I'll do in the practice pen is I'll have my heeler rope, and when he ropes, I'll make sure he doesn't dally. So if my horse is anticipating the face a little bit early, when I go make a practice run, when I turn that steer off and my heeler ropes 2 feet, I'll tell him not to dally. That way I can still keep pulling that steer another 2 or 3 strides. And that way I can undally and just kind of keep on going, and I won't face at all. I'll just keep on logging him and keep moving. Now another thing too, maybe if your horse is getting a little strong after in the face. So what I'll do when if the horse is getting strong, when that heeler ropes 2 feet, I'll just stop my horse. I won't face him, I'll just stop him. That way you kind of get a little bit of control back in that face. So those are just some good things that I'll try to do to keep that horse freed up, because it's one of those things that does get anticipated, and it can get dull, and it's a feel thing. So you really got to feel your horse out to kind of be able to see what you're trying to do to try to doctor that up in the practice pen. If your horse faces good already, then I may not face much at all in the practice pen, because if he's already doing it, I don't want to overdo it where then he starts anticipating or dullens his feet. So I might maybe, if I'm running 4 or 5 steers on the practice pen, I might face once just to make sure it's still there. And if it feels good, then when my heeler ropes, I'll probably just undally and let my horse just relax through and just kind of keep riding, maybe ride back to, back up the fence, and just whatever it is kind of let him relax. Because if them feet are already sharp, I don't want to overdo it where I dull them up.